A former Safe Streets worker pleads guilty after a deadly crash. Our team continues to investigate concerns being raised over the program and its hiring practices. Teens caught in crime as both victims and suspects.
I know for a fact that not all youth want to go down that path.
We search for solutions to protect young lives and keep them out of trouble. Promises to make the walk to school safer for students in Anne Arundel County.
The first video I shot shows two children almost getting hit by a car.
Why people in this neighborhood say things actually have gotten worse.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
We have breaking news tonight out of Baltimore County as train has collided with two tractor trailers. It happened in Rosedale, right off Pulaski Highway. We understand the driver of one truck has been taken to the hospital. No word on the extent of the injuries at this time. Hazmat and fire crews are on the scene.
Come home and find that out. It was just around Christmas. It just ruined everything.
Former Safe Streets worker pleading guilty to negligent vehicular manslaughter after a 2020 crash left a cyclist dead. The case raising more questions about those engaged in the city's flagship crime violence reduction program. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Kai Jackson. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost has been digging into the city's gun violence prevention program.
And she joins us in the studio. Mackenzie, tell us more about this case.
Well, it's a case we've been following for almost a year now, right? Gardnell Carter, known as Hamza, was scheduled to go to trial today, but ended up pleading guilty to the charge on Monday. It all stems from a December 2020 crash in the bike lane along North Avenue at the intersection of Ensor Street. Charles Buster Banks was riding his bike when Carter hit him while driving. Carter was later arrested and charged in February of 2022. Now, we obtained an internal email sent by a senior staffer within the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement on behalf of Director Shante Jackson. The email, dated February 11th, 2022, sent to all of the Safe Streets community-based organizations and other senior staffers within Monsey, written about Carter, saying, yesterday morning, Carter was arrested on an open warrant. Jackson wrote, following the assistance and support of Mayor Scott and Monsey, Carter will be released. Now, Monsey eventually telling us that it was emotional support Jackson was referring to in that email, not monetary support. And days after we started digging into Carter's case, I was told he was no longer a city employee. Carter will be back in court in September for sentencing. He faces up to 8 years in jail.
And Mackenzie, this is the first time you've reported on a Safe Streets worker who's been charged of a crime or accused of a crime.
Yeah, that's right. We know that Safe Streets often hires people with a criminal record. Just last week, we spoke with the family of Damon Scroggins, who was killed. Scroggins was looking to be a Safe Streets worker at the Woodbourne-McCabe Safe Streets location. Ronald Brady Jr. was a Safe Streets worker. In fact, he was the site director of that location. Brady Jr. was charged with Scroggins' murder, but later was found not guilty. Now, Scroggins' family says there needs to be a change in the program designed to prevent gun violence in the first place across the city. Has your view of the Safe Streets program changed throughout this week?
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. Yes. My belief is that our city government is financing a criminal enterprise. I believe that within my heart. And I believe that our city government is so invested in it that it's turning a blind eye to what it really is. They need to screen these guys. They need to screen them for their contacts, what type of contacts they have now. You know, are they still dealing with the same people that they were dealing with before?
Now, Mary and Guy, these are just two examples. We have several others that you'll see in our full investigation that's airing tonight at 10. And find out if the city is making any policy shifts when it comes to the hiring practices of these violence interrupters. Mary and Kai?
Mackenzie, thank you. And Fox 45 News has done extensive coverage on the Safe Streets program. You can read more right now at foxbaltimore.com.
Baltimore police say a 15-year-old girl walked into a city hospital after she was shot.
She is expected to survive, but it is another instance of young people being impacted by violence.
Juveniles are also being accused of violent crimes in the county. Yesterday, 2 teens were arrested after allegedly dragging an officer with a stolen car. The 14 and 15-year-olds led police on a chase from the county into Baltimore City. Fox 45's Amy Simpson is live with the regional crime crisis involving teens. Amy?
Mary Kai, because of juvenile privacy laws, today Baltimore County Police were unable to tell us if those 14 and 15-year-old suspects were from here in Baltimore County or not. But this case, just another example of teen crime crossing between the city and the county.
Suspects jumped out the car, scattered.
Those words from a witness to the end of a police pursuit involving two teen boys overnight Monday into Tuesday. The suspects not yet old enough for a license, just 14 and 15 years old.
I know for a fact that not all youth want to go down that path, but the sad case is we're going to have youth that just continue to commit crimes, but you know, eventually they're going to have to be held accountable for that.
The car those teen suspects were allegedly driving had been stolen in Baltimore County. The department said the suspects dragged an officer trying to stop them, and the teens struck two marked police cruisers. One of the teens eventually bit by a police canine, who was released when the suspects allegedly bailed out of the car. This all part of a police chase that started in the county and ended in northeast Baltimore City. Crime sometimes spilling on both sides of the invisible city-county barrier. On WBAL Radio today, new Baltimore County Police Chief Robert McCullough talking about the juvenile crime issue.
In terms of dealing with the crime, we're using the data that we have. Our best predictions for when things are going to happen is where things happened before.
And his relationship with Baltimore's police commissioner, the two men linked in a regional crime fight.
I can say that Commissioner Harrison and I have met a couple times. We've had several conversations in person and over the phone. We also have several meetings lined up later this month and next month.
And on the topic of regional crime, Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski pointing to the city-county lines.
If there are opportunities for targeted investigations or focusing on hot spots using the data, particularly around the border, we welcome those opportunities.
Now, Baltimore County's new police chief is just 3 weeks into that new role. On his first day, he told me that crime is one of his top priorities. We're live in Baltimore County. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Amy. Last night's chase ended near Huba Memorial Church. Longtime resident and community resident Pastor P.M. Smith is there, and we spoke with him this morning about juvenile crime and the upcoming curfew in Baltimore.
Since 1994, it's been on the books, very rarely and inconsistently used because it doesn't work. Again, there are other places where they've been instituted and not very well enforced. Number 1, PG County. Number 2, D.C. Number 3, Philly. Here in Baltimore, it hasn't worked so well, but I understand the mayor having to resort to this. The mayor and city council have to step in and set up a curfew when mothers and fathers don't.
As the juvenile crime rate climbs in Baltimore City, council members and police are taking notice. It was the center of a public safety hearing at City Hall today. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker was there. She joins us live from City Hall now with what we learned from it. Maxine?
Well, Mary, police did acknowledge today that the juvenile crime crisis right now is a big struggle. They're seeing more youth victims and perpetrators of violence here in Baltimore City. Just last week, you'll remember, a 14-year-old was arrested for the brazen murder of a T-Mobile store employee in Canton. So far this year, 10 juveniles have been killed, nearly 3 dozen shot and survived. Police saying today that's a 67% increase in homicides and a 55% increase in shootings, again calling it a big struggle. Council members today expressing concern and questioning what will be done this summer as young people are out of school.
Deeply concerned about the rise in juvenile violence. Far too many children in our city are getting hurt and are hurting others.
They're working on ways to bring the young people together at all these different events throughout the year, throughout the city, to take away, not to take away their free time, but to occupy some of their free time. Put them in any kind of events. They're trying to put it out. We started with we're going to have the youth football, we're going to have the basketball. Those are things that we can do.
Well, there was no talk or questions from council, though, about that youth curfew, which we know will go into effect here in Baltimore on Memorial Day weekend, though very few details have been given out from Mayor Scott about that plan. He says we'll have to wait until it takes effect that weekend. Reporting live from City Hall, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Maxine, thank you. Well, we want you to join our question of the day. Do you think a juvenile curfew will work in Baltimore City? You can vote right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote.
Making headlines, the sound of gunfire forces at least one Baltimore County school to be put on lockdown. Police found shell casings near Franklin School. No victim was found. A man is critically hurt in a house fire in Dundalk. This happened near Bear Creek Park. Firefighters say they had to rescue that man. He is in the hospital for treatment.
We are following breaking news. New York Congressman George Santos pleads not guilty to a 13-count federal indictment. The Republican lawmaker faces charges including money laundering, wire fraud, and theft of public funds. Among the charges, Santos is accused of stealing COVID unemployment insurance money at the height of the pandemic. He was in a federal courtroom and was just released moments ago on a $500,000 bond following his arraignment.
The reality is it's a witch hunt, because it makes no sense that in 4 months, 5 months, I'm indicted.
Prosecutors say that you got over $20,000 in unemployment benefits, sir. How is that acceptable?
Ma'am, like I said, my employment was changed during the time. I don't understand where the government's coming from. I'll present my defense.
Santos will have to surrender his passport and limit his travel to New York and Washington, D.C. The developments renew calls for his resignation, and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy suggested support for Santos will be limited if he's found guilty. His next court appearance will be June 30th. He could face up to 20 years in prison if convicted.
Parents sound the alarm about a dangerous school crossing in Arundel County. Fox 45 News investigates months after the safety issue was first brought to us.
And efforts to address pollution in the Chesapeake Bay are falling short. We look into what's happening.
And enjoying this weather this afternoon with a walk. It looks like it's going to be fantastic. All the way into the evening, temperatures in the low to mid 70s, dropping to about 70 at 7 p.m., back down through the 60s at 9 and 59 by 11. I'll let you know how much warmer it's going to get by tomorrow. That's in my Weather Authority forecast.
There's breaking news out of Baltimore County. As we told you at the top of our newscast, a train has collided with 2 tractor trailers.
It happened in Rosedale, right off Pulaski Highway.
Jeff Abel just arrived. Jeff, what are you learning?
Well, the busy rail line that rolls right through Rosedale here is shut down at this hour as crews investigate a crash that happened right here on the tracks. It all went down within the past hour here in 68th Street in Rosedale. You can see the train now at a stop on the tracks where it collided with 2 tractor trailer rigs in 2 separate locations, we're told. The driver of one of the trucks was raced to the hospital. His condition is still unknown, but the train still on the tracks. It has not derailed, but an investigation is on right now as to how 2 trucks collided with 1 train. We'll have much more details as we become available. For now, we are live in Rosedale. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Well, it is a good time to look for your passport because the Ravens are going international. The team is scheduled to play the Tennessee Titans in London this October. The game will happen October 15th.
It's part of the NFL's mission to take American football across the globe, meaning football that you play with your hand, not the one that's a soccer ball. This will be the Ravens' second international game. 6 years ago, if you'll remember, they played the Jacksonville Jaguars, also in London.
And a big game ahead tonight for the Baltimore Orioles. A live look at Camden Yards right now. The Birds have their series finale against the Rays. Right now, the series is even with 1 game apiece, and it will be a battle tonight to see who will take the series.
Let's go live to our Morgan Atson right now. She's live at Oriole Park downtown with more. Hi, Morgan.
Hey guys, yeah, this is it for the 2 as far as right now. Still very early in the season, but it's 1 versus 2. And we're not only talking about AL East standings, but we're talking about the entire American League. The Tampa Bay Rays, the best team in all of baseball, and the Orioles not far behind, second place in standings behind the Rays, 5.5 games, and second best in the entire American League. Again, this is just 1 game out of many that will impact the division and standings, but this is huge for the Orioles as far as getting up there with the top dogs and winning a series. And right now, we're still 2 hours away from game time at Ryan Mountcastle, cranking him out right now on batting practice. And we spoke to him earlier in the game as far as the magnitude of this series, and they don't want to get too far ahead of themselves. They realize it's just 1 series, and we're not even a quarter way through the season. That happens after Sunday. But the Orioles know, even going back to the last series against the Braves, these matter, and it helps them prepare if they want to start talking baseball in mid-October.
We're just going to go out there and play. I mean, I don't think there's any more expectations now as there is, against a different team. So I think we're just go out there, play our game, and, I think we've been playing well enough to compete with them.
We go out and we play the same game, same process, and we try and do our thing.
Still early, but you also get the sense of this is what it's going to be like if you're wanting to play in the playoffs. So to just get it early and just have that under our belt is going to be a really good experience for all of us.
So, guys, first pitch just after 6:30 at 6:35. Dean Kramer for the Orioles and the rotation starter will take the start. The Rays are going to go a bullpen game, so those might have a little bit of advantage there with the starting pitching to not tax their bullpen. This is Jorge Mateo taking some chops in the cage. But again, very early in the season. They'll just be a quarter way through at those 40-game mark on Sunday. But this right now, when you start talking standings, you get a full game, and everyone's chasing the Rays. They're the best team in baseball. Reporting live at Camden Yards, I'm Morgan Atson for Sports Unlimited.
All right, Morgan, good point. It's early, but things are starting to heat up slowly. Well, lots of fans will be cheering on the O's tonight. Look at this one. Troy sent us this picture from Marysville. Look at this cute doggy here with that baseball. Looks like this dog is ready for the field, Mary.
And we want to see your Orioles pride. If you're heading to the game tonight, take a picture, video, send it to us. Look for our Chime In page in the WBFF mobile app, or send them online at foxbaltimore.com/chime-in. Oh, my gosh, Jonathan, what perfect weather to be out at the ballpark tonight.
If those need a new catcher, I mean, they got one right there, a little doggy.
That's true.
Yeah, right?
I think he was fetching rather than catching.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
In any case, it might be kind of tough getting the ball away from him. But nonetheless, go O's. Right now, a look at beautiful Camden Yards. The sun's shining. It's out, 73 degrees, winds variable at 3. Humidity so low, 29%. It is a dry and a mild, kind of almost desertified feel to our afternoon, to our day. We've got 69 degrees now at Chestertown, 73 a real treat here in Baltimore, 72 at Laurel. Temperatures 60s to 70s pretty much the entire statewide. Then the warmth, bigger warmth, 82 degrees down in St. Louis, 82 at Memphis, 83 at Atlanta. That's what's coming our way next couple of days after today. Notice all the rain and storms down toward Texas, system there, another one in the Intermountain West. All of that gradually moving eastbound, but it probably takes till, yes, Saturday to get here. Very nice for now. Fair weather, high pressure, and good control. Sunny, even warmer yet as we head on into tomorrow. Next few days, we are tracking that next weather maker that's going to be moving our way. You can see there as we work in towards the weekend, potentially, we're going to start not only warming up, but also getting that risk of some showers in our forecast. So let's go ahead and plan things out on the future scan. About 4:15 all the way through about 10 p.m. Temperatures fall from the 70s back through the 60s into the 50s. Mainly clear skies for the O's game. You'll probably enjoy some 60s for most of that game. Then by 6 a.m. early tomorrow morning, a lot of 40s. So it's another crisp feel to start. And by tomorrow afternoon, there you go, back into the 70s to maybe 80 degrees as we head toward about, say, 3, 4 o'clock. So your forecast for the next 7 days, 83 degrees on Friday. We're at 76. That's kind of a wet day on Saturday. But for Mom's Day, just a slim chance of a shower, 75. Better chance of some showers on Monday, 73, and in the 70s for Tuesday, Wednesday of next week.
Jonathan, thank you. Well, for months now, we've been hearing about the financial records of Hunter Biden. Republican House investigators have been poring over. Today, they made many of those documents public and say millions of dollars in payments were funneled through various bank accounts to members of the Biden family to gain access to then Vice President Joe Biden. National correspondent Christine Frizzell lays out the details.
House Republicans say after 100 days of investigating, there's ample evidence of corruption, but still a lot more they hope to learn.
This committee is investigating President Biden and his family's shady business deals that capitalize on Joe Biden's public office and risked our country's national security.
Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer laying out his case. Members of the Biden family received millions of dollars in payments from countries like China and Romania.
What did they do? What was the business? What service did they provide? What value did they add? What did they do to warrant receipt of the money? That is the fundamental question.
The answer, they believe, had to do with buying access to people at the highest levels of the U.S. government, including then Vice President Joe Biden. And the payments were made through a series of bank transfers from multiple limited liability corporations, or LLCs, that formed during that time, used to hide where the money was coming from.
You have Rosemont Seneca Partners, Rosemont Seneca Advisors, Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners, RSP Holdings.
There's also this now infamous letter signed by 51 former intelligence officials, which stated stories about Hunter Biden's laptop appeared likely to be Russian disinformation. Republicans in a new report now asserting that letter came about when the CIA, or at least an employee, may have helped in the effort to solicit signatures for the statement. Now, as far as his son's business dealings, House Republicans did not put forth any evidence that Joe Biden knew about them, only saying it was inconceivable that he didn't. The White House called the news conference a political stunt. White House spokesman Ian Sams tweeting that Comer offered no evidence of wrongdoing or influence on government decisions, calling the attempt, quote, really desperate and sad. Hunter Biden himself mostly staying silent on these matters as GOP lawmakers push ahead in an investigation that appears to go far beyond him and his finances. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Months after Fox 45 News reported on dangerous school crossings in Anne Arundel County, a solution is yet to come. We're pushing for accountability. The water quality of the Chesapeake Bay getting worse and cleanup efforts don't look promising. A live report on what's going on. 5 Quad Box, Maryland Supreme Court has ruled in favor of a plan to tax digital advertising. The suit was brought by Comcast and Verizon. The state's digital tax law is the first of its kind in the nation. 2 FDA panels are backing over-the-counter birth control pills. Over the last 2 days, advisors had been meeting to decide if women could safely and effectively take the drug without any professional supervision. If approved, this would be the first birth control pill available without a prescription in the U.S. A U.S. Army sergeant is sentenced to 25 years in prison for shooting and killing another man during a Black Lives Matter protest in Texas back in 2020. Republican Governor Greg Abbott says he wants to pardon the shooter, citing his state's Stand Your Ground law. The southern border is bracing for a surge in migrants as Title 42 ends tomorrow. The policy was put in place during the pandemic and allows agents to turn migrants away. Beginning tomorrow, agents will deny asylum to migrants who show up at the border without first applying online. Be the first to know about breaking news by signing up for News on the Go. Go to foxbaltimore.com, click on Mobile Alert, sign up under the Station tab.
As you can see, cars rushing by here all the time, and kids trying to basically fight for their life to get across the intersection.
Parents say a crossing guard shortage is putting Anne Arundel County students in danger. I'm Rebecca Pryor, and coming up, I'll show you the shocking video of students having to dodge cars on their way to school.
Hundreds of homes in Baltimore spared from this year's tax sale, the continued effort to keep more people in their homes. And falling through the cracks, Fox 45 News demanding accountability and a backlog of warrants in Baltimore. This as repeat offenders continue to fuel crime.
I came out to shoot a video to show that there are no crossing guards. But of course, the first video I shot shows 2 children almost getting hit by a car.
You know, it's been 7 months now since parents and residents in Anne Arundel County first sounded that alarm over a dangerous school crossing.
The issue arising from the new school schedule and a shortage of crossing guards.
Rebecca Pryor is live in Crofton right now. And Rebecca, you're hearing the situation is actually getting worse?
Yeah, parents are calling it a daily danger. They say in the early mornings here, students are having to cross through this busy intersection with no one to help them across as parents spin their wheels trying to get someone to do something about it.
I'm really surprised that nothing's changed.
On the same street, students rush to school. The sounds of rushing cars blow through Davidsonville Road.
In fact, I've seen it get worse on some days with no crossing guards here at all.
Last year, father of 6 Anne Arundel County students, David Warner, shooting this video of the crosswalk. Students seen trying to cross as a car slams on its brakes. This week, he captured a similar situation. Students still dodging cars on their way to school with no crossing guard in sight. Something he says happens
every single day.
Following our coverage and repeated warnings from Warner, in February, the State Highway Administration releasing this letter of recommendations, offering a long-term solution of rapid flashing beacons to be installed on both sides of the crossing that can be activated by a pedestrian push button. But the project will take over a year to complete. In the meantime, MDOT says 2 crossing guards should be stationed here.
They pushed the start times back, we wouldn't have this problem.
According to Jacqueline Davis with the Anne Arundel County Police Department, the problem starts with the new school start times. She claims while this crosswalk and others are all manned during crucial commuter times, sending all students to school at the same time instead of staggering arrivals and dismissals spreads them thin, often requiring her to pull police officers off the street to fill in the gaps.
It's definitely worrisome. It's definitely concerning. It's definitely something that we told the school was going to be a public safety issue. And I guess you'd have to ask the school board for their opinion on why they didn't take the public safety issue seriously when they changed the start times.
We did, but instead of answering whether or not ACCPS would consider switching back to staggering start times, the district sending a statement reading in part, quote, "Our school system has a tremendous partnership with our county police, and we work closely with police on a number of issues related to student safety. We are absolutely confident that police will continue to do everything they can to help keep our students safe."
You have multiple agencies, each one kind of pointing the finger at the other.
For concerned parents like Warner, he doesn't care who solves the crossing guard shortage. He just wants something to be done before it's too late.
You just know eventually something's going to happen, and we need to do something before that happens.
Right now, the police department says they have 36 crossing guard vacancies that need to be filled. To attract more candidates, they've bumped pay up to $20 an hour. If you're interested in applying, we've attached an application link in this story on our website at foxbaltimore.com. Reporting live in Crofton, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Tonight, former Baltimore Mayor Sheila Dixon is calling for new leadership in Baltimore City schools. During Dixon's term in office, the city schools were among the lowest performing large school systems in the country, just like today, but there were some signs of improvement. Key metrics like the enrollment and graduation rates were trending up. Meanwhile, the last 5 years have seen those same metrics going in the wrong direction. Now, Dixon believes Baltimore City needs to rethink education.
Money's important, but accountability is also just as important. You can't keep putting money into a bad system and not have accountability and show results.
Tonight at 10 o'clock, how Dixon thinks Baltimore should reimagine education and the change she would make to city schools if she were mayor. We continue to follow that breaking news out of Baltimore County, where a train has collided with 2 tractor trailers.
It happened in Rosedale, right off Pulaski Highway. Jeff Abel is on the scene gathering more information for us. Jeff?
Well, you know, the busy rail line that runs right through Rosedale is still shut down at this hour while investigators probe exactly what happened to a crash when it crashed into 2 vehicles. It all went down here on the rail line on 68th Street in Rosedale. You can see the train still stopped here on the tracks where it collided with 2 separate tractor trailer rigs. One of them, apparently we're told, is pushed all the way down at the other end of the tracks. The other one was nicked right here at this crossing. Now, the driver of one of the trucks, we're told, was raced to the hospital but is not seriously injured. He has an injury to his arm. And the train still on the tracks, though. It has not derailed, but there has been one injury. 2 trucks collided with one train. The train is shut down. The tracks are shut down to any moving traffic as investigators try to determine what went down here and exactly why. We're live in Rosedale. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
First on Fox, we are digging deeper into the backlog of unserved warrants in Baltimore. Fox 45 News uncovered a wanted man accused of continuing to commit violent crime, including attempted murder while eluding police.
Alexa Ashwell joins us live right now with just how big of a problem this is in the city. Alexa.
Mary, we've heard from law enforcement experts and some agencies here in the city that this really comes down to resources, specifically not having enough manpower to swiftly serve these warrants that exist here in Baltimore City. Just yesterday, we told you in a report first on Fox about Terrell Parker. He's the repeat violent offender who police say they arrested last week. At the time of Parker's arrest, he had 3 open warrants, including one for attempted murder and another that was nearly 6 months old. In that case, court documents show he's accused of violently assaulting his girlfriend. We asked BPD why it took so long to track down Parker, and today, exactly how many open warrants there are here in Baltimore. City Sheriff Sam Cogan weighing in, saying it's a resource issue. Since taking office, Cogan has more than doubled his warrant apprehension task force. But what kind of warrants the sheriff's office serves has not changed, and Cogan says that, too, should change.
And so we have to look at the resources that are being put into warrants, and we have to look at technology that identifies who has warrants. And we just have to look at coordination between agencies. We all need to come together and find a way that we can look at the warrants that are priority warrants, where we have these repeat violent offenders, and all of us do a better job working together to try to get them off the street.
I asked Cogan if he foresees his office expanding to help serve warrants for other violent crimes. He said yes. More on that at 5+ numbers we just received from the Baltimore Police Department when it comes to warrants served. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. Well, Mayor Scott is announcing new steps that he says will keep more city residents in their homes. The mayor says homes valued at $250,000 or less and are occupied will be removed from the city's tax sale this year. The city says it will work with these homeowners to come in compliance with any taxes owed. Since last year, the Scott administration has successfully deferred 299 homes from tax sale, and city leaders say the work is ongoing.
We are talking about our older black residents, working class folks here who have been owning homes for generations that are at risk of losing them, which is why we're doing this in the way that we're doing, with that intentionality.
This is a team effort. This is one of the very times where all of us are in line of what we need to do next.
This is a step in the right direction for the city of Baltimore. Again, it's a true testament of us trying to dismantle some of the draconian and predatory practices around real estate in the city of Baltimore.
The city is also working with lawmakers in Annapolis to retain more control over tax sales.
For 40 years, Maryland, Virginia, and D.C., the DMV, even Pennsylvania, have been working together to restore the Chesapeake Bay.
But now a new report looking back at that effort is revealing the results have been disappointing. Our Maryland bureau chief has been digging into this study, joins us now live from the shores of the Bay.
Brad Bell is live. So, Brad, after this report, what are we learning?
Well, you know what? What we're learning is, as you said, that the results have been disappointing. Look, in 1983, as you said, the governors got together along with the mayor of D.C. and the federal government, and they signed the Chesapeake Bay Agreement. And they set goals. They said, we want to improve water quality in this way and that way by certain dates. Now, we knew that those goals have been missed, that the goals would continue to be missed. But what this report looks into is really the overall effectiveness. And what it found was, you know, at the beginning they said, we want to clean up sewage treatment plants. We want to stop pollution coming from factories. That's called point source pollution. They did a good job at that. But what the report found is the pollution coming from everywhere else, from farms, parking lots, your yards, cities. It's called non-point source pollution. Well, they have not been effective in stopping that, and that has prevented the Bay from improving in any significant way. The report finding that The bay we remembered, the bay we were trying to restore was probably never coming back, but they're hoping that this report can be a guide for policy moving forward, to hold politicians accountable, to try to make the bay the best bay that it can possibly be. So it's distressing, but it's also being looked at as a guide. And I'm going to have a complete story on the report coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. So a little bit of bad news and a little bit of hope as well coming from this report. Back to you.
Brad, thank you. We'll take a look at this. This morning, our meteorologist Justin Chambers got an inside look at a Baltimore landmark.
That's right. That's the Bromo Seltzer Tower, and it's been part of Baltimore's skyline for more than 100 years. You can't miss it when you're downtown.
That's right. Justin got a special treat today.
Well, something that I've always wanted to do is to be inside the clock room of the Bromo Seltzer Tower, and that is where I am right now. In fact, behind the east-facing clock, this is the one that we look at every morning when we zoom in from our harbor cam, and the time sometimes is a little off, but either way, Bromo Seltzer is something that everyone knows worldwide. In fact, if you think back to the old days, they actually mentioned it in Adelaide's Lament in Guys and Dolls. Also, Sophia mentioned it on the Golden Girls. She said, I need some Bromo Seltzer. And then it was also in an episode of The Simpsons. So it's something worldwide and known worldwide that used to be made right here in Baltimore. This used to be the tallest building in Baltimore City. It was built back in 1911, but now it's more of an art district, and a lot of artists are here. We have Eliza Kurtz here coming in, talking about from the Baltimore Office of Promotion and the Arts. This is a great place and a space for artists to do all sorts of things, right?
That's right. We have all sorts of different artists in here, painters, photographers, fashion designers, whole variety.
And different times of the year you have events, and you have one coming up on May 18th, next week.
That's right. On May 18th, we're participating in the Bromo District Art Walk. That's going to be from 5 to 9 p.m., and we're going to have the Clock Tower open, galleries, and open studios.
And this is something that even every Saturday people can come out and actually come right here in the Clock Tower room, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The Clock Tower is open every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. for tours, and then our galleries and studios are open on those days as well.
All right, I'm interested in the clock. Let's talk about it here. Sean, walk with us. So this is the clock, and what's special about this thing?
Yeah, so this is actually the largest four-faced gravity-driven timepiece in the world. Wow. The clock face itself is 1 foot larger in diameter than Big Ben.
Wow, 1 foot. Wow, that's pretty big. And then to set the clocks, you've got 4 of them here. They got to all sync up. How do you do that?
Yeah. So do you actually want to help me set the time? We can do it.
All right. I'm gonna help set the time here. Okay. So my thing is way over here, right?
I know,
it keeps moving on me. All right. So basically, I'm just turning this gear, right?
Yep. Just crank it to the right a few times.
Okay, I'm gonna crank it to the right. And I'm literally setting the clock for the time in Baltimore. Now, if anybody knows me, they know that I love clocks and calendars, so this is a bucket list item that I'm now checking off. That's really cool. And then once this happens, you guys sync up the other clocks. So this is the main clock.
Exactly.
Syncs up with the other 4. Very cool. Thank you, Eliza, for being here. The Bromo Seltzer Arts Tower, and of course, the clock room for Baltimore and for Fox 45. I can't even talk. I'm meteorologist Justin Chambers. Back to you.
Pretty fun little field trip there. I didn't know that Justin was into clocks and calendars. Trees, grasses, and mold all running medium to high in terms of our pollen. Actually, grasses are the biggest threat here for today. That's why you're sniffling and sneezing. Weeds running low. I'm going to let you know if there's any rain to help us out. Wash some of this out in the forecast. That's in my Weather Authority forecast coming up.
Inflation slowing for a 10th month in a row, but will you notice a difference? I'm Atrell Nashar with the price trends that will affect you this summer.
fresh consumer inflation report from the Labor Department coming in slightly better than expected. Prices in April were almost 5% higher than they were a year ago. National correspondent Dr. El Nashar has the story.
Americans getting ready for the official kickoff of summer, one where inflation won't be as much of a burden as 2022. Summer celebrations could still pinch your budget. While meat prices are steadily declining, alcohol is 4.6% higher than a year ago. Pre-made salads are up more than 9% and condiments up more than 13%. But it's difficult to predict what grocery bills will look like throughout the summer.
They're so largely determined by international commodity markets, by the weather, by wars, by things outside of our control.
Shopping for new clothes, prices only rising slightly in recent months. Women's dresses and men's shoe categories avoiding inflationary pressure altogether, costing the same or less than last year. Going on a trip, plane ticket prices are almost 1% lower than this time last year.
That's because jet fuel has come down in cost. So even though airlines are short-staffed and they're doing a roaring trade, prices might be a little bit lower.
If you're driving, GasBuddy forecasts gas prices to average $3.99 per gallon in June, $3.81 in July, and $3.87 in August.
Prices for hotels, motels, and other lodging away from home are up 3.5% from a year ago. Now, the CEO of Airbnb says their prices are about 30% higher than they were before the pandemic. The company's stock taking a hit Wednesday, coming off an earnings report forecasting lower demand than the surge they saw heading into last summer.
At the same time, we're also seeing some pressure in North America on affordability. I think that with inflation, people are more focused than ever on affordability.
That's something that's not expected to change for another 1.5 to 2 years. About the amount of time most economists think it will take for inflation to return to a normal rate of 2%. In Washington, I'm Atrell Nashar reporting.
All right, nice looking day. 73 degrees. We're taking a look not too far if you know where Kenilworth is. Here on the Beltway, taking a look. I believe that's York Road out that way, Kai Jackson says. We have some sunshine glinting down. Boy, that traffic not looking too pretty this afternoon on our brand newly accessed traffic camera network here on our weather system. We've got 73 winds variable at 3 miles an hour, humidity at 29%, and dew points are in the mid and upper 30s. So actually, it's kind of a dry feel to things, although temperatures warming up today to that 73 here in Baltimore. We're at 71 at Columbia, 74 at Laurel. Head up 95 to Bel Air. We're at 71, 73 at Westminster, and 65 to 70 along the eastern shore. Look at the entire state of Maryland. Everybody's in the 60s too, right around 70 degrees. Even Ocean City coming along at 63. We're at 73 Baltimore, 74 down Laurel Way. There are some patchy clouds mixed in with the sun, but overall you are going to need sunglasses for that trip home. And also, you're going to need some short sleeves. We are 8 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago here in Baltimore, 5 degrees up at Westminster, 11 degrees warmer at Laurel. And along the eastern shore, about 5 to 10 degrees warmer than just a day ago at the same time. Down to the south and west, look at these temperatures in the 80s. Yep, those are coming our way. Get ready for them. Now, rain. That's eventually coming our way, too. We've got a big rain system, actually, a big weather maker down toward Dallas as well as Memphis, kind of links all the way back with some severe weather into the Intermountain West and Denver, Colorado. We're going to get a little piece of that coming into the weekend. Very nice for now. Fair weather high pressure is our main weather maker. Sunshine turns warmer for tomorrow, and there's some of that rain to follow. I think it's probably going to take likely until, that's right, Saturday to get here. It's on the edge of the map for Friday. But then as we head into Saturday, that's when we could start getting wet. Then Mother's Day, that's a question mark, right? So 10 p.m., we've got temperatures falling through the 50s back into the 40s to near 50 by early tomorrow morning, and then popping back into the 70s for tomorrow afternoon. Maybe even 80 degrees for a high temperature, 83 on Friday. Rain and thunderstorms back for Saturday. Just an outside chance of a shower. Better news for Sunday for Mom's Day.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Coming up at 5 o'clock, a train crashes into 2 trucks. One person is sent to the hospital. We're tracking the latest on this breaking news from Baltimore County. First, we check out a program in Baltimore to give students crucial skills as an alternative to college. Take a look at this. Maryland State Senator Cory McCray and the College Bound Foundation are teaming up. Their goal to offer Baltimore City students an alternative to a college education. Not everybody wants to go to college. Olivia Dance is in Rosedale with more.
This is a one-day tour, and right now we're at the first stop of the tour, which is at the Plumbers and Steam Fitters Training School. I want to go ahead and bring in Senator Cory McCray, who is really behind this whole event. Thanks so much for joining us, Senator.
Olivia, thanks for the opportunity.
All right, so tell us what this event is all about and how many stops are on the way.
It's an opportunity for our young scholars to come together collectively in partnership with College Bound. We know that our institutions in the state of Maryland, we got phenomenal universities, but at the end of the day, offering alternative pathways.
Yeah, and as you just mentioned, we know that college is not for everyone. So today, Baltimore City students are going to have the opportunity to learn about some other opportunities out there for them. What are some of the skills that they're going to be learning?
When I think about it, as a person, a legislator that graduated from a 5-year apprenticeship program, so they'll go to the electrical apprenticeship, of course. They just left the plumbing and steam fitters right here at Local 486. And they'll also be able to see some big equipment with the operating engineers, Local 37.
Very cool. And this is the 4th year that you've actually put this on. Why is this event so important to you?
The reality is that I'm the only legislator that has went through a 5-year apprenticeship program with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. But I can remember when my mom, she was the one, when you're graduating from high school, you don't know what you're doing next. She reaches out to the Maryland Department of Labor, says, send me every apprenticeship program. Young folks shouldn't have to go to that. They should be exposed. They should have the opportunity, and they should have the access, and that's what we're creating today.
Absolutely, and this is, as you mentioned, the 4th year that you're doing this, and several students are participating in today's event. Lucky students that they were picked for this. How exactly did that process work?
So being able to work with the principals such as Dr. Gresham with Reach Partnership, being able to work with Principal Lampkin over at NAB, Zark over at City Neighbors, and right there with Dunbar, making sure that our schools in the city of Baltimore, our high schools, the juniors, the seniors, that they get this opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. A very exciting day for these students. And thank you so much, Senator. Now, 60 students were selected for this, and they're going to be learning hands-on skills and also learning about opportunities that are out there for them beyond just college. But for now, reporting in Rosedale, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock today, a Safe Streets worker pleads guilty to manslaughter. The questions the case is raising about that violence prevention program. 2 teens are accused of dragging an officer from their car, leading a chase through the city in Baltimore County. The struggles to get juvenile crime under control. We're following breaking news tonight. The latest on a train crash in Baltimore County.
A former Safe Streets worker pleading guilty to vehicular manslaughter. The new details on the latest controversy surrounding the program.
2 teens accused of dragging an officer with a stolen car. We track youth crime as it becomes a bigger issue across city lines.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
Breaking news, a train crashes into 2 tractor trailers in Baltimore County. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 45's Jeff Abel live at the scene right now with the very latest. Jeff?
We are learning more from eyewitnesses here on the scene earlier today, where a busy train, where this train slammed into 2 tractor trailer rigs here on the tracks in Rosedale. It all went down about 3 o'clock on 68th Street crossing here in Rosedale. You can see the train still stopped here on the tracks where it collided with 2 tractor trailer rigs. One of the trailers is all the way at the other end of the tracks, where we're told the train moved it down the tracks. The other one clipped another tractor trailer here at this crossing. The only thing on the other side of this tractor trailer of this train is a contracting company, where this makes for a busy in and out over these tracks each day with tractor trailer rigs going over them. Today, 2 of them got hit by this train that was coming down the tracks. An eyewitness tells us it was at about 20 or 30 miles per hour. Now, one person in one of the trucks was injured with an arm injury not believed to be life-threatening, but the train still on the tracks, not derailed. We'll have more information as it develops. For now, live in Rosedale, Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Fox 45 is digging deeper into the backlog of warrants in Baltimore.
There are growing concerns unserved warrants could be contributing to city violence after Fox 45 News uncovered a man wanted is accused of continuing to commit crime, including attempted murder, while eluding police.
Alexa Ashwell joins us live right now with just how big of a problem it is in the city. Alexa?
Kai and Mary, we've heard from law enforcement experts and some agencies here in the city that this really does come down to resources, specifically not having enough manpower to serve these warrants that exist here in Baltimore. At the time of Terrell Parker's arrest, court records showed the repeat violent offender had 3 open warrants, one for attempted murder and another for assault that was nearly 6 months old.
He and many others are walking the streets with open warrants for very serious crimes.
It's a troubling reality here in Baltimore, but also across the country.
I think it's a national issue.
An issue Baltimore City Sheriff Sam Cogan also says comes down to staffing.
And so we have to look at the resources that are being put into warrants.
Since taking office, Cogan has more than doubled his warrant apprehension task force from 6 to 15 officers and says his team has arrested 54 people within the last 30 days. But the type of warrants the sheriff's office serves, including circuit court warrants and probation violation warrants, has not changed, and Cogan believes it should here in Baltimore.
Warrant service is pivotal to reduce crime
and may also help address any backlog. Fox 45 News questioning the Baltimore Police Department, asking how many open warrants does BPD have for crimes committed within its jurisdiction. And Cogan, if he foresees expanding the type of warrant the sheriff's office serves to include other violent crimes.
Yes, that's something that we would like to see. We'd like to work in cooperation with the Baltimore Police Department and the other law enforcement agencies in the city, because warrant service is one of the expertise of the sheriff's office. We all need to come together and find a way that we can look at the warrants that are priority warrants, where we have these repeat violent offenders, and all of us do a better job working together to try to get them off the street.
Offenders like Terrell Parker. A spokesperson with the Baltimore Police Department says they're still working on gathering warrant numbers for this year, but have totals for 2022. So take a look. The WATF serving a total of 2,211 warrants. Nearly half of those were for felony crimes, and 62 were left open. So presumably that carrying over into 2023 on top of the crimes committed this year. We'll let you know when we receive more details from the Baltimore Police Department. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. Well, new information as a former Safe Streets worker pleads guilty to negligent vehicular manslaughter after a 2020 crash left a cyclist dead.
Come home and find that out. It was just around Christmas. It just ruined everything.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost has been digging into the city's gun violence prevention program. She joins us live in studio now. And Mackenzie, what can you tell us about this specific case?
Well, Gardnell Carter, known as Hamza, was scheduled to go to trial today, but ended up pleading guilty to the charge on Monday. It all stems from a December 2020 crash in the bike lane along North Avenue at the intersection of Ensor Street. Charles Buster Banks was riding his bike when Carter hit him while he was driving. Carter was later arrested and charged in February of 2022. And we obtained an internal email sent by a senior staffer within the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, or MONSE, on behalf of Director Shante Jackson. The email, dated February 11th, 2022, sent to all of the Safe Streets community-based organizations and other senior staffers within MONSE, written about Carter, saying yesterday morning Carter was arrested on an open warrant, adding, following the assistance and support of Mayor Scott and MONSE, Carter will be released today. Now, MONSE eventually telling us it was emotional support Jackson was referring to in that email, not monetary support. And days after we started digging into Carter's case, I was told he was no longer a city employee. Carter will be back in court in September for sentencing, and he faces up to 8 years in jail.
And Mackenzie, this isn't the first time that you, of course, have reported on Safe Streets workers finding themselves on the other side of the law, is it?
Yeah, we know Safe Streets often hires people with a criminal record. Just last week, we spoke with the family of Damon Scroggins, who was killed. Scroggins was looking to be a Safe Streets worker at the Woodbourne-McCabe location. Ronald Brady Jr. was a Safe Streets worker. In fact, he was the site director of that location. Brady Jr. was charged with Scroggins' murder, but later was found not guilty. Now Scroggins' family says there needs to be a change in the program that's designed to prevent gun violence from happening in the first place. Has your view of the Safe Streets program changed throughout this?
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. Yes. My belief is that our city government is financing a criminal enterprise. I believe that within my heart. And I believe that our city government is so invested in it that it's turning a blind eye to what it really is. They need to screen these guys. They need to screen them for their contacts, what type of contacts they have now. You know, are they still dealing with the same people that they were dealing with before?
Now, these are just some or two examples of, we have several others that you'll see in our full investigation that's airing tonight at 10 o'clock. And also find out if the city is making any policy shifts when it comes to the hiring practices of these violent interrupters. Marion Kai.
Mackenzie, thank you. Overnight, a 15-year-old girl walked into a Baltimore hospital after she was shot, according to city police. She is expected to survive, but it is another instance of a young person being touched by violence. Juveniles are also being accused of committing violent crimes in Baltimore County. Yesterday, 2 teens were arrested for allegedly dragging an officer with a stolen car. The 14 and 15-year-olds led police on a chase from the county into the city. Fox 45's Amy Simpson is live with the regional crime crisis involving teens. Amy?
Yes, so Kai, this police pursuit early yesterday morning is just the latest instance of crime, specifically a teen crime in this case, crossing jurisdictions here in the area. Now that stolen vehicle that those 2 teenagers were allegedly driving, had been stolen here in Baltimore County, and the department said the suspects dragged an officer who tried to stop them and then struck 2 police cars as well. One of the teens was eventually bit by a police canine. The dog was released when the suspects allegedly bailed out of the car. And on WBAL radio today, both Baltimore County's new police chief and the county executive were asked about youth crime and crime happening near the city-county border.
In terms of dealing with the crime, we're using the data that we have. Our best predictions for when things are going to happen is where things happened before.
If there are opportunities for targeted investigations or, focusing on hot spots using the data, particularly around the border, we welcome those opportunities.
Well, we know police arrested the 14 and 15-year-old boys after the chase, not even old enough to legally have a license, Amy. Anything else we know about those suspects?
Yeah, so because of this instance of crime crossing jurisdictions, we'd like to know where these 14 and 15-year-olds are from. You know, were they from here in Baltimore County where this pursuit began? Were they from Baltimore City where this pursuit ended? Were they from another jurisdiction entirely? But because of juvenile privacy laws here in Maryland, the Baltimore County Police Department is unable to give us more details about those two suspects. We're live in Baltimore County tonight. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Making headlines, a Reisterstown shooting investigation puts middle schools into lockdown today. Baltimore County Police say there was a shooting on Reisterstown Road near Cherry Hill Road. Franklin High, along with Owings Mills Elementary and middle schools, were put on lockdown status. Police say they found a shell casing, but so far, no victims.
Mayor Brandon Scott is announcing new steps that he says will keep residents in their homes. The mayor says homes valued at $250,000 or less and are occupied will be removed from the city's tax sale this year. The city says it will work with these homeowners to come in compliance with any taxes owed. Now, since last year, the Scott administration has successfully deferred 299 homes from tax sale, and city leaders say that work is ongoing.
We are talking about our older black residents, working class folks here who've been owning homes for generations that are at risk of losing them, which is why we're doing this in the way that we're doing, with that intentionality.
This is a team effort. This is one of the very times where all of us are in line of what we need to do next.
This is a step in the right direction for the city of Baltimore. Again, it's a true testament of us trying to dismantle some of the draconian and predatory practices around real estate in the city of Baltimore.
Well, the city is also working with lawmakers in Annapolis to retain more control over tax sales.
New developments in the race for Maryland's soon-to-be vacant Senate seat. Some key endorsements coming in for Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks. Just days after announcing her plans to run, Alsobrooks campaigned announcing endorsements from Congressman Kwesi Mfume and Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates. In a statement, Congressman Mfume says he believes Alsobrooks has a proven track record and deeply cares for the people she represents. Other Democrats vying for the seat include Maryland Representative David Trone, Montgomery County Councilmember Will Jawando. Jerome Siegel has also announced he's running as a Democrat but doesn't seem to be actively campaigning. And on the Republican side, perennial candidate Robin Ficker has also announced a run.
New tonight, Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski is apparently considering entering the Senate race. A source confirms to Fox 45 News Olszewski is expected to make a decision within the next week.
A 67% increase in juvenile homicides. The plan city leaders highlighted to stop the violence during a public safety meeting today.
After months of warnings, parents say nothing has changed. The frustration over a school crossing in Arundel County putting students at risk.
The Orioles have a chance to beat the league's best Tampa Bay Rays in a 3-game series tonight. Taking you live to Camden Yards with the very latest on that game.
And if you're headed to the O's game this evening, temperatures looking great, falling from the 70s back into and through the 60s. Very comfortable as we hopefully beat up on those Rays. I'm going to let you know how long the sunshine lasts and if it's going to come with some warmer weather towards Mother's Day weekend in a couple of minutes.
There is a big game ahead tonight for the Baltimore Orioles. A live look at Camden Yards. The Birds have their series finale against the Rays. And right now, that series is even one game apiece. It'll be a battle tonight to see who's going to take the series.
Let's go live to our Morgan Answer right now at Camden Yards with more. Hi, Morgan.
Hey guys, yeah, the rubber match between 1 and 2, and we're not talking just the division standings in the AL East, we're talking the entire American League, and of course the Rays, the best team right now in all of baseball, with the Orioles and many more chasing them. The O's just wrapped up their warm-ups in BP right now. The Rays are partaking in that right now before Game 3. We're still about a little over an hour away from it, and again, it's very, very early in the season. The Orioles understand that, but they sit 5.5 back with a chance to gain a whole game tonight. And while we won't hit the quarter way through the season until after Sunday, the O's know the magnitude of not only this series, but going back to their last against the Braves, but are still keeping the mindset this is just one game, one series that could perhaps prepare them for teams they'll face if they want to reach mid-October baseball.
We're just going to go out there and play. I mean, I don't think there's any more expectations, now as there is, against a different team. So I think we're just go out there, play our game, and, I think we've been playing well enough to compete with them.
We go out and we play the same game, same process, and we try and do our thing.
Still early, but you also get the sense of this is what it's going to be like if you're wanting to play in the playoffs. So to just get it early and just have that under our belt is going to be a really good experience for all of us.
And guys, I want to apologize to our viewers. I failed as a journalist today. I asked for the Homer hose. I asked to get my hands on it. I asked to at least see it. I wanted it to make an appearance during this live shot, and I have been shut down. But I do have confirmation from Gunnar Henderson. It is wiped down after every usage with a disinfectant wipe. And I shouldn't feel too bad. Ryan Mountcastle told me pregame he doesn't even know where it lives before it actually shows up on game day for them ready to use after each home run. So I do apologize. We don't have the all eyes on it right now. We're just going to have to wait and see if there's any home runs tonight and watch the game. Reporting live at Camden Yards, I'm Morgan Atzett. Back to you.
All right, Morgan, thank you. Hey, while we're talking baseball, by the way, we do hope you'll check out the new Rip and Rock podcast. Former player Ryan Ripken joins our own Rocco DeSangro to bring you the latest in Orioles baseball headlines, expert analysis on all the best moments from the O's. You can find Rip and Rock on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Talk about a perfect evening to go down to the ballpark tonight. Great weather, get your beer
and what would we like to have,
your
Mary?
dog.
Yes.
And
a Homer hose doesn't get any better than that.
The Homer hose, exactly.
All right, guys, let's go. We're going to take our intern Logan out. We're all going to go.
Yeah, let's all head out. I mean, who has to do news anyway? But actually, I think we can fit it in. 6:35. If we just run out of here.
Yes.
All right, let's get right into the forecast. And yeah, just beautiful weather for an O's game. Take a look there in the background. Sunshine, 73 over Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Winds variable at 7. Humidity nice and dry. Bone dry at 29% with the dew point at 39. It'll turn crisp again tonight, just like it did this morning, with high temperatures getting into the low to mid 70s this afternoon near the water and some of the higher elevations. We've been in the mid to upper 60s, but overall, really, really nice afternoon. Lots of sun, a couple of patchy clouds, kind of mixed in here along the Beltway you see between Westminster and here in Baltimore. Otherwise, these temperatures just looking so welcoming to getting outside. Temperatures, again, pretty much 60s and 70s statewide. And you know what? These temperatures are running about 5 to 10 degrees warmer than they were 24 hours ago. If you remember yesterday, some of the gloomy skies did keep us in the mid 60s for much of the day. So this sunshine has helped out. And look at these 80s down to our south and west. Here it comes. We're going to get that warmer weather, but also with that, there's a risk of rain. Take a look down to the south. We've got some flood watches that are in effect for portions of the lower Mississippi Valley into Louisiana, and then the severe weather associated with the system out toward Denver, Colorado. And we are tracking this as it moves into this fair weather high pressure. So for now, sunshine and a warming trend, but eventually that rain is going to be getting here, and we're tracking that next weather maker over the next 3 days. Starts off around the Gulf Coast and then begins to make that move into the Ohio Valley, and it's just on the doorstep by Friday. I think we'll call it partial sun, but the rain could get here in time for Saturday. Now, Mom's Day, that's a big question, right? So, forecast for overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning. I think the O's game is just fine. Temperatures falling through the 60s by overnight into early tomorrow. Temperatures settling to near 50. So you'll need a jacket to begin once again, but by afternoon, another one of those days where we work well into the 70s. Tomorrow could even be a few degrees warmer, as I think we touch about the 80-degree mark. And a look at that 7-day forecast for Friday. We're also in the low to mid 80s, sunshine there. Saturday, rain and thunderstorms developing with highs in the 70s. Mother's Day, there you go. The rain moves out. Could be a brief respite. Only a 20% chance of a shower with a high 75. Monday, scattered showers are back with a high 73, and then it looks like 75 to 80 into the middle of next week. And notice a normal high for this time of year is 74, and pretty much almost all of those days at or above average.
Jonathan, thank you. A member of Congress arrested the federal charges against New York Congressman George Santos.
The president and his team expecting difficult days ahead at the U.S. southern border. I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with a look at what happens now that a controversial law is expiring.
America's immigration system is about to be put under incredible strain. That is the warning tonight from the Department of Homeland Security as Title 42 comes to an end tomorrow. Chief political correspondent Scott Thuman shows us why the problems are outweighing the solutions.
The alarmingly long lines not to get into the country, but of those already here seeking asylum, creating a state of emergency in El Paso, Texas. It's better to turn ourselves in so that everything is done legally. We have faith in God and hopefully everything's okay, said this man from Venezuela.
And nothing's a guarantee. Everything's a case-by-case basis, but we do want to get them through that process, get the process started.
The urgency born out of what's on the way. Here alone, they expect a surge of 10 to 15,000 immigrants when Title 42 expires on Thursday, now turning closed schools into shelters, with President Biden conceding solutions are in short supply.
We're doing all we can. The answer is it remains to be seen. It's going to be chaotic for a while.
Our plan will deliver results, but it will take time for those results to be fully realized.
But critics say the time has run out.
If the local border
communities, whether it's in San Antonio or other places, or the NGOs cannot handle that, then they're going to do street releases. Will they be able to track those individuals? The answer is they're not going to do a very good job.
Meanwhile, governors from Texas to Florida spending millions in state funds to send immigrants elsewhere, trying to highlight what they see as failures by both Congress and the president.
They get mad when people want to enforce the border, and yet when these people, the illegal aliens, are brought to their jurisdictions, they scream bloody murder. It's shining a light on how absurd the federal government's policies are.
At the other end of the line, sanctuary cities like New York, but receiving sometimes 200 to 300 a day, the mayor now rerouting many to suburbs, though residents there too left wondering, where is the help? In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
New tonight, a U.S. Army sergeant is sentenced to 25 years in prison for fatally shooting an armed protester during a Black Lives Matter demonstration in Texas back in 2020. 36-year-old Daniel Perry argued he shot and killed Garrett Foster in self-defense. Foster was legally carrying an AK-47 rifle at the time. A jury found Perry guilty of murder last month. Republican Governor Greg Abbott says he wants to pardon Perry, citing his state's Stand Your Ground law. But prosecutors argue his history of racist texts and social media posts show he could still be a violent threat. House Republicans accusing the Biden family of selling influence. The new developments in the investigation into Hunter Biden. City leaders sounding the alarm on youth violence, just how bad they say it's gotten and what they plan to do about it.
As the juvenile crime rate climbs in Baltimore City, council members and police are taking notice. Well, it was a topic of conversation at City Hall today during a public safety hearing.
Fox 45's Maxine Stryker was there. She joins us live now from City Hall with what we learned today. Maxine?
Marion Kai, police acknowledging today that youth crime right now is a big struggle for them. This as 10 juveniles have been killed in Baltimore this year, nearly 3 dozen shot and survived. Police saying that homicides among juveniles are up right now 67% and non-fatal shootings 55% among juveniles. They say the city is working on ways to bring young people together with things such as football and basketball this summer while kids are out of school. They also say they have a strong plan in place for deployments in the Inner Harbor after recent large crowds of youth have prompted concern there. But Deputy Commissioner Richard Worley says parents, they're the ones who need to step up and take responsibility.
This is a parental issue as well. I mean, we had a 15-year-old who was a victim of a crime at 3 o'clock in the morning yesterday, or this morning. I mean, what's the 15-year-old doing out in West Baltimore at 3 a.m.? Without any parental I mean, you just got to know where your kids are, and we can't, as much as we can do, it all falls back and starts with the parents. Yeah. So we've got to start holding parents accountable too.
Well, questions were also asked about where these young people are getting guns. Police pointing to ghost guns as a problem, saying they've made 3 arrests for youth as young as 13 with ghost guns already this year. Guys?
And Maxine, what about the youth curfew? Any talk about that today?
Well, there was no mention about the youth curfew that will take effect this Memorial Day weekend right here in Baltimore. The mayor putting this plan in place to help curb crime among juveniles, but has said very few details about exactly how it will work, saying that we'll have to wait until it takes place on Memorial Day weekend to learn more. Reporting live from City Hall, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
As you can see, cars rushing by here all the time, and kids trying to basically fight for their life to get across the intersection here.
Arundel County parents sounding the alarm, warning a shortage of crossing guards is putting some students in a dangerous position. It is an issue Fox 45 News first reported on last school year, but as Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor reports, parents say the situation, it is only getting worse.
Yeah, we confronted Anne Arundel County officials about this crosswalk on Davidsonville Road last year, but since then, parents say nothing has changed, claiming students are still walking through this busy intersection with no one to help them across. Take a look at this video. This is a video a parent sent us last year. You can see students trying to cross as a car slams on its brakes. This week, David Warner captured a similar situation. You can see students still dodging cars on their way to school with no crossing guard in sight. Warner says he sees this every single day and has been warning the district about the dangerous crosswalk since 2021.
It's been exactly the same. In fact, I've seen it get worse on some days with no crossing guards here at all. You just know eventually something's going to happen, and we need to do something before that happens.
Now, the police department is in charge of staffing school crosswalks. According to them, all crosswalks are manned during peak arrival and dismissal times. However, they say the new school start times have spread them thin, something they warned the district about before they were implemented.
It's definitely worrisome. It's definitely concerning. It's definitely something that we told the school was going to be a public safety issue. And I guess you'd have to ask the school board for their opinion on why they didn't take the public safety issue seriously when they changed the start times. I don't want to say at no time, but it would be extremely rare that there's not at least one of the 2 guards there.
We did, but instead of explaining why start times were shifted, despite warnings from police, the district sending us a statement reading in part, quote, "Our school system has a tremendous partnership with county police, and we work closely with police on a number of issues related to student safety. We are absolutely confident that police will continue to do everything they can to help keep our students safe." Before the new start times were implemented, police say they had no crossing guard vacancies. With the new start times, they say they now have 36 vacancies. In Crofton, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Maryland's plan to tax digital advertising had a key legal victory Tuesday. The Maryland Supreme Court reversed a ruling from a lower court in the state that said the state's tax on digital advertising was unconstitutional. The state's digital tax law was passed in 2020. It's the first of a kind in the nation. Comcast and Verizon Media Incorporated brought a lawsuit against the law.
There's new data on how much money the state is making from mobile sports betting. Last month, the state brought in more than $3.7 million from taxes on winnings. 95% came from mobile sports betting, the money going towards statewide education funding. Since the start of the state's sports betting program, more than $20 million has gone to supporting education, and nearly $2 million has been invested in gambling addiction treatment efforts.
For 40 years, Maryland, Virginia, D.C., and Pennsylvania have been working together to restore the health of the Chesapeake Bay. But a new report looks back at whether this effort is revealing the results have been disappointing at best. Brad Bell has details.
Joe Rush is an avid fisherman. Today was a good day in his kayak on the bay off of Sandy Point State Park. He caught and released a handful of striped bass. But he says days like this are increasingly rare.
I think a lot of people are giving up on the recreation of fishing because it's not what they remember.
Such stories are one way to judge the health of the Chesapeake. But now, dozens of scientists have worked together to release this new report looking back at the last 40 years of efforts to restore the bay. Their findings match the fishermen's observations.
The system did not respond the way we expected it to. We didn't know then what we know now.
Denise Wardrop of the Chesapeake Research Consortium is co-editor of the report. It finds only slight increases in water quality, pollution reduction not happening fast enough, changes in farming practices not yielding hoped-for results, and climate change hampering efforts even more.
Increasing temperature is a very big deal to the bay ecosystem.
Hillary Harp Falk is president of the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. She says the report can't be ignored.
Every one of us can have a huge opportunity to improve the bay from our own backyard. And this report highlights the importance of stopping pollution entering cities, towns, farms. And so we each need to continue to make progress on our own work, while we also hold elected officials accountable for making progress at the state and federal level.
Without change in restoration efforts, the report concludes there will be fewer crabs, even fewer fish, for people like Joe Rush.
You'd expect the Chesapeake Bay would be better.
Now, the report runs 133 pages and it digs deep into the science. It could be seen as distressing, but its authors hope that it serves as a guide for how to move forward with efforts to save the bay. They also say that it proves that without what has been done, the bay would be in far worse shape. At Sandy Point State Park, Brad Bell, Fox 45 News.
House Republicans are ramping up their attacks on the Biden family with what they say is new information they received through subpoenas. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer claims bank records show the Biden family and its business associates received more than $10 million from foreign nationals while Joe Biden was vice president. He claims the payments could show the Bidens tried to peddle influence and that they tried to conceal payments, some of which came from Romania and China.
Instead of being honest with the American people, President Biden has claimed since the 2020 election that his family has not received money from China. That was a lie in 2020, and he continues to lie to the American people now.
In a response to Republicans' new claims, a White House spokesperson tells NBC Comer, quote, has a history of playing fast and loose with facts and says he's handpicking information to lob personal attacks. The president denies the claims.
Also developing on Capitol Hill tonight, New York Representative George Santos has been arrested. The U.S. Attorney's Office says Santos is facing multiple federal criminal charges, including wire fraud, money laundering, and lying to Congress. It comes after he admitted to lying about parts of his life experiences when he was running for Congress last year. After pleading not guilty and posting a $500,000 bond this afternoon, Santos says he is not stepping down and brought up the president while defending himself.
It makes no sense that in 4 months, 5 months, I'm indicted. You have Joe Biden's entire family receiving deposits from nine family members receiving money from foreign destinations into their bank accounts.
Congressional lawmakers from his own party tonight split on what should come next.
He should have resigned a long time ago. He's an embarrassment to our party. He's an embarrassment to the United States Congress. And apparently the wheels of justice, they do grind slow, but they grind fine as well. And
you walk through like every American. You have your day in court and go through, just like when another member inside the House. Santos we never put on committee, so he won't serve on committee. He'll go through his time of trial, and we'll find out how the outcome is.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy at this time is not calling on Santos to resign. Writer E. Jean Carroll is speaking out for the first time after a jury found former President Trump liable for sexually abusing and defaming her. Carroll saying the trial marks the death of the perfect victim, meaning women no longer have to be silent.
This verdict is for all women. This is not really about me. It's for every single woman.
A 9-person jury in New York awarded Carroll $5 million in damages. Carroll says the perfect victim would have reported the incident right away, but the recently passed Adult Survivors Act allowed her to bring this case forward decades later. Trump, on the other hand, calls the verdict a disgrace, and his attorneys are appealing.
Tonight, former Baltimore Mayor Sheila Dixon is calling for new leadership in Baltimore City schools. During Dixon's term in office, the city schools were among the lowest performing large school systems in the country, like today, but there were signs of improvement. Key metrics like enrollment and the graduation rate were trending up. Meanwhile, the last 5 years have seen those same metrics going in the wrong